Hello and good morning. Happy Sunday. I am looking forward to going through and doing a few more of the Screeps tutorials. Seeing if we can record some more. Maybe we can finish with this too. Diablo D3, hello. Good morning. Let's see. I'm also thinking of a slight just making the shorter Sundays just a little bit more permanent. I've noticed that my Saturdays, now that the weather is really nice, we're going out and doing a lot more stuff outside, which means I don't have enough time, like as much time for chores on Saturday, which means I'm gonna have to do them on Sundays. And if I stream too long, I don't have time for that streaming and a little bit of fun. But allergies, I know allergies are a thing. But it's outside too, and like it's nice to be outside and to like go ride a bike and go hike and do all those things. They just take time. So anyways, it's a thing. So I think I'm going to start making the end of the streams on Sundays around 10 o'clock Mountain Time, which gives us like 3 hours or so. Let's see what we can do in 3 hours. So to begin with, I want to see where we ended up and what we last did. So looking at our code under Screeps Arena, in our tutorials, okay, so we had Screeps bodies. You've been stuck indoors for 2 weeks because tree pollen. You're lucky it didn't. So it only affects me if it gets really bad. Other than that, I don't really get that affected by it. So yes, I'll take that luck. Twisted Seed, hello. Okay, so we had Creeps Bodies. Store and Transfer is the next one, which we don't have. So Creeps Bodies was the last one. So looking into this, are there any functions I want to break out into something else? What is this website? So this isn't a website. This is a game called Screeps Arena. So closest to the game, let me see if I can find store page. This is the website for the game. And here is the URL for that. So basically, I mean, it does advertise the like JavaScript all over the place. That's the primary language that you use to program these. However, down here, buried in the description somewhere, yeah, other languages are supported via WebAssembly, with Rust being right there with them. So I had played around with Screeps on its own in the past, although I've never tried it with Rust. So that might be an interesting thing to play around with. And it's fun. It's a fun game. And then Screeps Arena is out, although it is early access, so just beware of that. That being said, it seems to be pretty stable. I think the only problem that we're going to run into is a lack of other players. There seems to be like 300 or so active players at any moment right now, which isn't too bad. That's plenty of people to sort of hang out with and bash your bots against. But if that's something you're waiting, or you just like don't want to do early access, just keep an eye on it. When Screeps went full out, they added a lot of features too, which I'm hoping that they add features like local play or private servers. That would be amazing. I would love that so much. Okay, so we last time did this Creeps Bodies tutorials to sort of like, what was it? It was figure out what the type of creep was, and then we store them here in these variables, and then have them do the appropriate thing. So we had a fighter, we have him go and like, you know, bash the enemy in the face. We have a ranger, so it goes up and like shoots the enemy from ranged. Healer went and found whoever had missing health and healed them. And then our enemy just was here so we can target them. But looking at our methods, we have get objects by prototypes. That's fine. Like, I wonder if I want to do something like get my creeps. No, that probably doesn't make that much sense as a like utility function. Like what? Okay, what do I repeat over and over and over again? This one, fighter.attack. Look at this. So we have attack, ranged attack. This like entire do the thing or move, do the thing or move. So I don't think that there is a way in Rust to dynamically call a different method. JavaScript, that's pretty cool just because like the lack of a type system and everything else does make it pretty easy to deal with. But if I create a utility function to like is that really useful? I don't know. Maybe it isn't. Dota, hello! How are you doing? Maybe the creeps body as well. Let's go forward with the tutorial like the next one and sort of like figure out what we want to do. So you're gonna do the repository pattern. I remember reading about that a long time ago, but I've forgotten exactly how the repository pattern works. There's more implementing in .NET than Java necessary. Wait, you have to implement stuff in .NET and Java, or are you just saying that's where the repository pattern is often used? Oh, Java to use repository is just an annotation. Okay. Well, that's easy. All right, so our next tutorial is going to be store and transfer. All right, and I wanted to do this where we're grabbing the feature out. And I suppose then while we're going to this features, if I have something from a previous code and I want to like run it, that's an indication when I want to break it out into a utility function. That's probably when, because then I'll actually have that like compiled out here somewhere. In .NET, you have to create stuff like multiple classes. And is that .NET or is that C#? Because like .NET's the library, right? C# the language. Yeah, you're using C#. I need to learn a little bit of C#. I don't know. I don't think I'm gonna do it live on stream, but I want to learn some Unity stuff so that I can better sort of like work with the teams at my day job that are using Unity, and sort of like understand and poke around in the code base a little bit more. But that means I have to learn Unity, and it's a very fascinating thing. It's like, okay, I need to learn game dev using one of the more popular engines for my day job. It's a fun thing to think about. Okay, so next up, we're gonna have config feature equals arena tutorial. This is gonna be the store and transfer. Oh, and then I want to put the run in here. Okay, so that'll at least make it happy that it's being used. All right, well, happy lurking, and if you do come back and say hi again, glad to have you. Let's see. Functions ever used, run. Do I do anything with the rest of these? Oh yeah, allow dead code. No, not alloc. Allow. Dead code. Okay, so happy with that now. The main library is doing its thing. So here's our store and transfer. So I want to take this and we're going to head to cargo.toml and register this as a feature. And then in Screeps.toml, for tutorial 5, okay, so this is going to be store and transfer. That. Okay, so when we build this with tutorial 5, then go ahead and run that. I also am going to want to start everything up. So, let's see, we have our Docker run. Yeah, okay, this is what I'm doing. So Docker run, remove this when it's done. Screeps Arena latest, bin bash, and then code to here. That should be fine. So cd into Screeps Arena. And then I think the command I want to run here is cargo Screeps cargo Screeps build. No, it's cargo Screeps deploy -m and then the name of it, so tutorial 5. All right, we can go briefly take a look at store and transfer too to sort of see what we're getting ourselves into. There are different. Oh, I can't make this bigger. Nice. There are different resources available in different arenas, but there's one common resource type: resource energy. It is the resource used to build structures, spawn creeps, and for some other kinds of activity. In this tutorial step, we will use energy to charge at the tower and defeat the enemy at a distance. The tower can shoot at 50 tiles range, although its efficiency decreases with distance. So in the capture the flag, there is no energy. There's no energy sources to harvest, and we cannot manually refresh and like transfer energy into the tower. Sylvie, hi. I'm not letting you in the closet. Do you wanna come here? Sylvie. Right. Sylvie. Here. No? Then kind of walk away? Okay, fine. He almost came up to me and then he walked away. So sorry about that. Couldn't bring Zilby onto the stream. All right. Every shot consumes 10 energy units from its store. In order to load it with energy, you need to use a creep that will transfer energy to it. To transfer tower resource energy. Where to get energy? There is a container nearby that has some energy amount in its store. You can move a creep to it and withdraw energy. When the tower is loaded with energy, attack and destroy the target. So this is what we're going to do. Is we're going to have our creep taking energy from this container. We're going to refill the tower. The tower is then going to kill the creep. So that'll be interesting. Okay, so I think there's several things that we need to do here. I want to verify that you finished. You did. So if I click play, nothing should happen. Like our module not found. User's code. Well, that's not exactly what I was expecting. Do I need to be CD'd into here? Wait, no, I am CD'd into here. I'm CD'd into here like that. So there's a Screeps Arena like this. I want to go to tutorial, store and transfer. There is that. Okay, we created and copied you in here. Export star from /code, I think is our problem here. Oh, right, because yeah, I did CD into the wrong place. Okay, hold on. Let's exit out. I want to CD into Screeps Arena, do my Docker here. And then I do my cargo Screeps deploy-m tutorial 5. I shouldn't do the --rm. I'm thinking I should set it up so it's like more of a command. Then I don't have to do this every time. Although it's really only like once per session as long as I have it correct. There you go. Okay, so it copied all the code over. I should now be able to tell you to run and nothing should happen because that's like an empty run command. Yeah, failed. If we watch the replay, here's our situation. We have a creep that just sits here and does nothing. We also have a tower that can't do anything because it has no energy. And then here's our enemy. So I think we're about ready to sort of begin with the proper sort of tutorial for this. So let me do. I'm going to mark. Well, okay. I'll just all right, so tutorial 5. We're building this thing. Okay, let's do this. Tutorial 5. I should be inside of here. Welcome back to the Screeps Arena sort of playthrough of the tutorial. We're here in store and transfer. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take a creep. We're going to get some energy from a container. We're going to then transfer that energy into a tower and then have that tower kill the creep. So right now I have a empty setup. So if we take a look at our code here, store and transfer, we just have an empty function, which then leads to when we run this, obviously it does, well, nothing. It just completely fails. So I'm thinking of doing this iteratively because we're starting to get a little bit more complex space here. So I want to find this container, find my creep, and then load it up. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with that. So inside of run, we're going to have my creep. So let my creep, let's make this be a none. And I can also mute this. And let's then iterate through all the creeps and then store ours away. So we're going to do get objects by prototype. Our prototype creep. That's going to give me, okay, so into an iterator. So now I have an iterator of a vector. We can do a for each. Okay, so if this creep is mine, so if creep.my, if this is true, then assign it to my other one. So we're going to say my creep equals some creep. Okay. Otherwise, we don't do anything, and then by the time we get to the end of this, hopefully we should have a creep for us. So if I could probably expand it out. We can do it like properly and do like an if let some my creep. But I'm thinking of more of just like double checking. Okay, if we don't find it at this point, I want to panic and let us know like, hey, we didn't find this. So if my creep dot is none, let's log. It's warn. So we're gonna warn could not find my creep, and then we'll not panicking. We'll panic. We'll panic here. And this will help out because the compiler will now know that I am I can go ahead and like safely unwrap and do everything else. I guess it's not just the compiler, it's also me in the future can look through here and say like, this is our guard clause. Okay. So we have that. Let's see, what's next? So after we have our creep, I want to find the container. So let's see if we can do that. Let mute container equals none. So I probably want to do another get objects by prototype here. So get objects by prototype. We'll do our prototypes structure container. We'll do another into iterator for each. We have a container. And I think this is also technically mine. I want to look at this. So is there anything that's actually, okay, so this is owned by Brooke Zucker. This is not owned by anyone. However, looking at the map, there is only one container here. So we should just be able to find, like, if there is a container, let's just assign this to the container. So inside of here, we'll just do energy container here. Energy container equals a sum container. Okay. And then we're ending here. So if creep is none, could not find my creep. We could do another if statement probably here. So like if our energy container is none. Could not find a container. And then the panic. Okay, so we now have our creep and we have a container. I want to tell the creep to gather from the container. So we should be able to do my creep dot, let's unwrap this. Now, what do I have access to? There's harvest. And there's transfer. There's store. Oh, withdraw probably is correct. To verify exactly which one we should use, we can go to the documentation and take a look through there. So I want creep. Okay, so these are actually other structs. So definitely not store. I want the methods. So there's harvest. Harvest energy from the source. Requires the work body part. Okay, so this is not exactly what I want. This is like mining. Pick up is like actually pick something up from the ground, right? Find the optimal path to the target and move to it. No, yeah. So I think this documentation is wrong. Creep.pickup. So it's probably like attempting to pick up whatever it is. And then it can return and, hey, I'm not in range. Transfer. Transfer resource from the creep to another object. So this is what we're going to do for the tower. Withdraw. Withdraw resources from a structure. The target has to be an adjacent square to the creep. Multiple creeps can withdraw from the same object in the same tick. Your creeps can withdraw resources from hostile structures as well in case there is no hostile rampart on top of it. Okay, that's actually interesting. I wonder if that's a thing where we can like go and just remove energy from a tower that we're like being attacked by. Okay, but it's going to be withdraw. So we're going to do withdraw, and then our target. So our target is going to be this energy container, which is a reference to a game object. So we're going to do a reference to energy container. We'll unwrap you. TY is, resource type. So what is the type of resource? One of the resource underscore constants. So we can actually pull in a constant here. Use Screeps Arena. Constants resource type. So a resource type energy. That's what we want. And then amount. So amount is optional. If omitted, all the available carried amount is used. So basically that would be max amount here. So we will, that's a none, I think, because are you an option? You are an option. Okay, so that would be a none, return, get as much as possible. And then, okay. That's semicolon U. I suppose there's a chance that maybe we're not next to it. So if, let's do this as like in 2 lines. So that result equals this. If result equals a return code not in range, then I want my creep. So my creep unwrap move to, well, I need to move to this this container. So our energy container. Okay, so this should have us get that out. Okay, so what are you upset about? Mismatch types, expected Boolean, found nothing. Should be a return code. If result, equals. Double equals. Okay, so then my creep, unwrap. Oh, we moved my creep to here. I did not want to move my creep. So there's a as ref, I think. So let's do as a ref, and then I can unwrap it. Okay, so then that makes us happy here. So let's rerun this. You're unhappy. Oh, and I actually do have an error here. What about you? Oh, because you're moved here too. So I can't just do an unwrap here. We have to do an as ref. Slightly annoying with those. I might want to change that away from like storing them in options like this. Maybe we can use like a hash map and store them. But okay, let's try this again. I don't have any more errors. All right, come back to here. We'll close you out and we'll rerun the tutorial code. We're still not going to win. We're still going to fail, but we should now see. There he goes. It happened too fast. Let's see if I can rewind. Yeah, I just take a big chunk of the energy from the container and it's now inside of the creep. And so next up, I need to find the tower and then I need to transfer this energy into the tower. All right, so we need a tower. So this is kind of annoying of like having these things as options here. I do think that I can make this a little bit better by creating a function to get all the information that I need out. Maybe can have it store, like it could return a struct with the things that I want in it, or I can just return a tuple of of the data and then destructure out of that. I kind of am thinking of a struct for that. So like maybe like my data. So what if I do something like, I don't need this to be public. This is gonna be private to this module. So this is gonna be struct my data, Screeps data. So we're gonna have my creep. I should make this public so I can get access to this. And you're gonna be a type creep. We're gonna have a pub container, and you're gonna be a structure container. And then finally, we're gonna have tower. You're gonna be a structure tower. Okay, and then what do I want to do with this one? Okay, so I want to refactor this a little bit. We're going to create I can have like an init function on this. So we can import data function. Let's do init for it. I don't need to pass anything in necessarily. You're going to return a self. So at this point in time, we do know, okay, so now we can get like the options, the unknowns, everything else. Almost kind of like a builder pattern, except I'm not going to create a struct builder. So I'm going to do this type of thing up here. So these are options. We'll get these by prototype. So then we get my creep energy container. If we can't find them, that's a problem, obviously. So that, again, goes up here. You're upset because I'm not returning anything. Now I want to do the exact same thing with the tower. So let me tower equals a none. Okay, so structure tower into iterator. We'll do a for each. And then there's only one tower here, so I'm fine with just like taking whatever this is and overwriting what I have. So we're gonna do tower equals a sum tower, except I now have like tower, tower, tower. That's obviously wrong. So this is gonna be my tower, really. My tower equals some tower. Okay, we're good here. If creep is none, if energy container is none. So at this point, I think I can just do some unwraps in here, or maybe some expects for the error messages. And I think that'll be fine. So we're going to return a self. Oh, you auto figured that out. Okay, so my creep is going to be my creep. My creep. Let's expect, and then we can just say could not find my creep. Container. This is going to be the energy container. Expect could not find container. And then tower is exactly the same thing. So this can be my tower. Okay, save that. And now we're going to have this here. So in run, the first thing we're going to do is let our sort of like the data equals data init. That's going to give us this data here. And so then if I wanted to do something with it, we can do, okay, my creep as ref. So unwrap, withdraw. All right, so this is going to be fairly easy. We can just do data dot my creep. I want this to be a reference so I don't take ownership of it. Although maybe I can do this here because I'm running it inside of there essentially. So withdraw target. So a reference to the energy container. This is going to be a reference to data dot container. Our energy type and the amount. Okay, so that should be happy there. If this result is not in range, then my creep, so that's going to be a data dot my creep move to this data dot container, and no unwrap needed here. Okay, so same exact things, except now I have a tower. So now I should be able to transfer to. So let's do if data dot my creep transfer our target. Okay, so that's going to be the tower now. So a reference to data dot tower. The resource type. It's going to be our resource type energy, and the amount is an option. So I think if I put a none, it transfers all of it. If that equals return code not in range, then data dot my creep move to data dot tower. Okay, so that should transfer over to our tower. Let's go ahead and run this and see if that works. Yep. Okay. So we transferred a bunch of this energy into the tower, and our creep then the next tick got a bunch of energy back from the container again. So the container is now empty. Our creep has a ton of energy. That's fine. So next up, we want our tower to target and attack this enemy creep. Now, do we have the enemy? We don't have an enemy here, so I need an enemy too. So our enemy is going to be a creep. I'm going to reuse this get objects by prototype for creep. So if the creep is mine, it goes into this one. Otherwise, it goes into my enemy. So enemy equals some creep. And then in here, we'll have a enemy is enemy expect Okay, so I have that now. I should be able to have our tower attack our enemy. So I think this is going to be another if statement. Well, maybe not, because the tower can't really move, right? So just attempt to fire at the enemy regardless, whether or not you're in range or not. It will not fire if it's out of range. So that should be fine. So we're going to say data.tower.attack, a reference to data.enemy, and that's it. I don't really care about the return code, so just attack forever. We will rebuild and deploy this. And let's run, and this time we should win. Hey, and we passed. And let's take a look. So here we are. Now looks like every like 8 ticks or so, we fire and take down our enemy. That's a very slow firing turret. I am trying to attack every single tick, but it obviously doesn't let me. So there's probably a return code for something. Oh, and also I filled it up. Like I kept the tower with a like maximum amount of energy here too. So that's good. Okay, so that passed with this. We now have working code for storing and transferring. Is there anything I want to? Well, let's clean up all these warnings. I don't need that warn anymore. And everything else is from the previous method. I'll just go ahead and clean those up too, so we don't have any more warnings. That's it. No more warnings, no errors. Everything is working. All right. Thank you so much. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye. All right. So that was store and transfer. That's like halfway through all of our tutorials. Next up is going to be terrain. All right, let's set ourselves up for this. Okay, so I think that's happy here. Also, hello, viable clan member. I saw your message, and then I sort of like in my mind was responding to it, but not out loud because we were recording. And I sort of forgot that I didn't then say hello to you afterwards. So sorry about that. Okay, so this will be tutorial 6. Branch is going to be tutorials. Terrain. Dota, welcome back. Did you get everything done? Let's see, feature arena tutorial terrain. Did I do this properly? Ask an awkward question, get an awkward answer. Well, fine. I mean, I suppose you probably don't do your coding there, right? Like your client work. I'll just run with the awkwardness. It'll be fine. Okay, so arena tutorial terrain. So cargo tamil, arena tutorial terrain, and then Screeps arena tutorial terrain. Okay, so we're good here. Yeah, I think you actually did tell me that, and I just immediately, it just like went right through my head. So it shows how much I was actually like retaining that information. Okay, so then terrain here. There are 5 types of terrain in the game. Plain terrain, natural indestructible walls, constructed destructible walls, swamps, roads. Swamps and roads work in conjunction with the concept of creep's weight. Every creep body except move adds weight to it. Okay, yeah, so this tutorial is about how fast we can move. But it's also about how we can use this find closest by path function. So each creep has a different number of body parts, I think. And what we need to do is find the closest by path to their to the flag they want to get to, and then have them individually move towards it, because otherwise it's going to be really hard for them to get there. So that's going to be a thing. All right, let's see. I think we're good to go here. If I rebuild, we should all be fine. This is now tutorial 6. Let's start coding this up for the I feel like this is starting to get to the point where I need to like practice it and do it once beforehand. So I'm going to go ahead and commit all of this first so I can undo the commits. So preparing for terrain tutorial. Okay. All right, so we need to grab all of our creeps and have them in a vector. And it looks like we need to grab all of our creeps, and then we need to grab all of our flags. So creeps and flags, and that's pretty much it, right? So this is going to be a vec of creep. And a vec of flag. Now this is going to be a little bit easier, isn't it? Because we're going to just have creeps and flags here. So we're going to just do that creeps equals get objects by prototype. Prototypes creep. And that's it. We have our vec of creeps. Then we have prototypes flag. Okay, that gives us a vector of flags, and we're good to go. Okay, so if that gives us that, I want to loop through all of the creeps. I want to loop through all of the creeps, and I want to find the flag that it can go to and like get the closest like move towards it. Oh, get the closest by. Okay, get the closest by. So, first of all, we're going to do this in an iteration through each of the creeps. So, have data.creeps.iter. We can for each. Then I want to get closest by creep. So let a specific flag is going to now be creep dot it's find closest by path. So find closest by path. And this takes in a reference to an array being a very specific thing. So I don't think this is actually gonna work. I don't think I can do like data.flags here. Yeah. So expected reference array found a reference to a FAQ of Screeps Arena flag. So this is gonna be interesting. So I need a function in here to get me the flags as an array. Flags array. And we're going to return an array, which is this JSys array. Actually, I don't even think it doesn't even care about a type. Like, it just is a thing. So let flags equals array new. So that gives me a new one there. We're going to return this. That'll make you happy. Now, to stuff these in here, I want to probably iterate through all the flags and then push them in here. So we'll do self dot. Oh, well, no, self dot flags is going to be fine. So self dot flags, iter. For each, we'll have a flag. And then I want to say for the flags, I want to push a reference here, which is that flag. Mismatch types expected that. Oh, I don't want to return anything, so. Okay. So this is now going to be flags array, and you're supposed to be a reference. Okay, that's fine. Options none. So this gives me a flag. Now I can move towards that flag. So we can say creep dot move to flag. Oh, but you're an option with an object in it. So if you didn't find it, so really I should do this as an if let. I'm not seeing any errors in this, so it might just work. Let's find out. So I want tutorial 6 now. Hey, that worked. Okay. So if we watch, here we go. Okay, so what was the big thing here? It was the converting into an array. That's a really big thing for this. I don't even care what type it is. The JSys stuff with like arrays, it's so weird working with like an untyped, system inside of a very strongly typed language like Rust here. So I'll go over it a lot more when we do this. So I want to reset you. We now know what to do. I want to redeploy this to make sure that it actually works. So let's make sure it fails. There we go. Okay. All right, let's try this again. I guess it's not really tried again. It's gonna be tried for the first time. All right, here we go. We're on to tutorial 6, terrain. So this is not a tutorial in which we have to like kill any enemies. It's really a tutorial that's going to show us what movement like looks like. But there's going to be one sort of like feature that they're introducing us to that is kind of important and is going to be very different in Rust than how we would use it in JavaScript. And that's going to be our find closest by path. So what the terrain here does is we want to show off how creeps of different like sizes, they have different numbers of components on them, how fast or slow they move depending upon their weight. So we can see here this top creep, this has more body parts to it, so it moves slower over the same terrain as this red creep. But then a road basically allows the creep to move at the same speed as the creep with less body parts. So that's kind of like something to that's important. And then we have this swamp down here. That's this sort of green stuff. Swamps make us move really slow, but once again, roads allow us to ignore that, and we can move just as fast on it. So, kind of just showing the importance of roads in the case that you have bad terrain or really big creeps. So let's go ahead and do this. What we're going to need to do, we need to grab all of our creeps. We need to grab all the flags. And then for each creep, we need to run this find closest by path. That's where it's going to get a little bit interesting. We'll get into that in a second. So let's head into our code. So first off, we need that data. So we're going to have a struct data. We're going to have all of our creeps, which is going to be a vector of creep. And we're going to also have flags. Is a vector of flag. And that's all we need for this specific tutorial here. So we're going to also create our init. So we'll impl data. Okay, so so we need to get the creeps, we need to get the flags. This should actually be fairly simple. We can do let creeps equals the get objects by prototype we'll do our prototypes of creep, and that's it. That gives us a vec of the creeps. So I can just repeat this for the flags. And then we'll just return self so we can get our creeps and our flags. All right, fairly easy and simple so far. Let's get our data. All right, now that we have that, next thing for us is to have each creep, iterate through each creep, and then have it find the closest flag by by path. We don't want by range because range is going to ignore the fact that it might not be able to get to it. But if we remember, these creeps are isolated within walls. They can't get to each other's flags at all. So we should be able to find them out that way. So let's iterate through first. So we're going to do data creeps iter for each. All right. So I should be able to get a path. I should be able to find like a very specific flag. So that flag equals, and that's going to be a creep dot find closest by path. And then it wants this positions. So it's going to be a reference to an array. Now this isn't a Rust array, and it's definitely not a vector. We can try to use it, but it's going to fail and tell us like, hey, we can't use this thing. It's not the same thing. So if I attempt to use data.flags here, it's going to fail and say, hey, this isn't what we expect. We expect a reference to an array. So right away, we should probably be a little bit suspicious of what this is. Remember, we're working in something that's expecting a lot of JavaScript and WebAssembly. So this array is actually a JavaScript array. It wants something like that. So we're going to create a new function inside of data here to convert the vector of flags to an array of flags. And it's going to be a little bit weird if you're well, you know what? It's going to be weird no matter what. There's no really just like a if statement there. So we're going to do a pub function. Let's do flags to array. We'll take a reference of self because we're not going to take ownership of anything. And we're going to return an array. And notice that this is use JS sys array. So that's the one we're going to do. All right, so let our array of flags equals array new, and we'll go ahead and mark that as being returned. Notice I am not creating this as mutable, and that's fine. It's part of like the weirdness of working with JavaScript inside of Rust is we're kind of ignoring some of the things because it just doesn't. It's weird. It works differently. It's JavaScript rules in Rust. So for this array, I want to add all of my flags. So I'm going to iterate through my flags and push them one by one into this array. So we're going to do a self.flags. Going to get an iter. We're going to do a for each. Get a flag. And then we're going to say array. And then this returns something. So I don't actually want that to happen. So I'm gonna do this as like a multi-line with the curly brackets so I can semicolon this statement so it doesn't return anything. So we're gonna say array.push, and then this takes in a reference to a value. It can't take ownership of something. So we already have a reference to the flag. So there we go with that. We now have an array of the flags. So here, instead of flags, we're going to do a reference of data.flags to array. Okay, And that gives us a flag. Now notice here, it's an option with just a generic object inside. So we have to hope that it's correct. But if it didn't find it, we get a none. So we can use an if let to handle that. And okay, so we now have if let sum. We know we have a flag. We found it for this specific creep. So we can now have our creep move towards it. So creep dot move to. I take ownership of this. Let's not do that. So we have a reference to this flag. And go to the flag, and I don't need any special options for the move to. Hit save, and there's no errors showing. So let's go ahead and build this and see if it works. No errors in compile. And if we come and we hit play, fast. Let's go ahead and watch it. And here are all of our creeps doing exactly what we saw in the tutorial video that we sort of expected that they would. The big thing to note is that these swamps are nothing to sneeze at, nothing to ignore. Basically, they slow us down a lot. And so if we ever play any games that have swamps in them, we want to be aware that we're potentially sitting ducks while moving through them. That may kill all of our creeps. So something to be aware of. Anyways, that was our terrain tutorial 6. So I will see you in the next video for tutorial 7. Bye. All right. Spawn creeps. Well, this is not going to be capture the flag type thing. This is going to be more of a, what is it? Spawn and swamp, where like it's the more traditional like RTS type game. But let's see what we need for this. Let's set ourselves up. All right, this is spawn creeps. I'm not going to put the data in here. Although, like, I do wonder if maybe we should just start throwing the data in. Because, like, a lot of times we need something like that. So, let's try it. Let's, we'll have a struct data. I don't know what I put in here yet. Okay, so this will be like our sort of like initial setup here. Then, okay, I accidentally closed you, but need to. Okay, so feature for this one is going to be spawn creeps. Okay, and then cargo to Tamil, so that would be this feature that it cares about. And then Screeps.tamil, you care about this entire thing. Okay, so that should allow us to now run with this. Let's head back into here and see what we need to do. When you play on Arena with a spawn structure, you can create new creeps using the spawn creep method. You need to define a body of the new creep as an array with its body parts. The bigger creep you want to spawn, the more energy it will consume from the spawn store according to the following costs. I think this is also inside the documentation somewhere here. That'd be under spawn? Structure spawn. Spawn creep. Oh, that actually doesn't show the cost here. That's going to be in like... Body part cost, here it is. So here's our work. So in case that the tutorial is like gets out of date, this should have the more recent information.
Yo, what's going on?
The spawn creep method returns a creep instance that you can save and use later. So do a spawn creep. Now, I think something that's important to note is that the creep doesn't exist right away. This is the order to start creating the creep, and it takes several ticks before it's done. And you can define variables even outside your loop function to use them between ticks. So what are they suggesting? We create... If the creep doesn't exist yet, spawn it with this. Okay. Note that you can assign any properties to this creep object. It may be useful if you want to assign some targets, roles, or other data to your creeps. In this tutorial, you have a spawn and 2 flags. Spawn 2 creeps and move each creep onto each flag. So that's going to be interesting. Do I have enough to spawn the creeps at the same time? And okay, so I think what they're suggesting is that we're going to spawn, on the first tick, we're going to spawn a creep, and we want to assign it the first flag. On tick 2, well, no, it wouldn't be tick 2. As soon as the first creep gets created, then we start spawning the second creep. And then it will, we assign it the second flag, and then we have them move towards their own flags. Now this is really interesting. They're having to like store the entire actual flag object. That's fascinating, as opposed to just like an idea of the flag. This is where it gets really fun with JavaScript and Rust. Okay, so what can I do here? Actually, you know what? Before I start on this, I want to go refill my water. So I have something to drink. So I will be right back. So Zilby is upstairs, staring out the window at in the backyard. There is we have a fence, and on top of it there's this squirrel who is not staring at Zilby right now, although that usually changes throughout the day. It's staring at our neighbor's yard because apparently this family of squirrels loves to come in here, stand on the fence line, and just terrorize our pets. So like they come into the fence that's closest to the window and like chitter loudly at Zilby, staring intently at him, and Zilby's just like going, "I wish I could murder you." And then turns around every once in a while and like picks up and throws things at our neighbor's dogs. Drives them insane too. So they take turns of which creatures they want to drive insane. Today apparently is our neighbor's cat. So Zilby's just sort of watching. Our neighbor's dogs. Zilby's just sort of watching that happen. It is good TV for him, I suppose. Okay, so for this one, we're gonna use the Reflect API, which I want to say it's actually a part of JavaScript, right? So the one we're most interested in is reflect.get and reflect.set. And so we can add a new property to an object. So we can use reflect here to sort of add things in using Rust, unlike a creep. This is not something I've ever thought I needed outside of in Rust, but this is probably something that if we would need to work with like actual JavaScript objects and any kind of WebAssembly thing and just sort of like mutate them, this is kind of what we need to do. It's gonna be fun. All right, so let's figure out how we can get this working. Then we'll record a tutorial for it. Okay, so we need to get our spawn. So for our data, we have a spawn. I actually think I can probably do it singular, right? So let's spawns equals give objects a prototypes spawn Okay, so extract out the first one. Cannot move out because it has copy. I mean, I'm okay with moving it out, but okay, let's just clone it. Okay, so I get my data. What next? After getting my data, I want to find. Okay, so if we get the spawn, I need to attempt to spawn a creep on it. So I'm going to put my creeps inside of here, except, and this is where it gets interesting, because I don't have state. Can I change things around so I do have state? It's like in our main library. Yeah, see, we have this public function tick here. Which is this loop, but unfortunately I don't have access. It's just gonna be called every tick, then my stuff's just gone. I just don't have access to it anymore. So what I'm referencing here is what they're showing is they're creating a variable creep here. They then have this function loop. I can't just create a variable here, unfortunately. So they're creating this variable. And then they assign to it, but then it stays around because they just call the loop again, but this doesn't get reset ever. Mine does. But I think that if I assign something to it over time, it helps out. Okay, so let's start by having in our data. Okay, if we don't have a creep, we need to spawn it, right? So we need a creep. We need 2 creeps. This kind of sucks. I'll just put in creeps as a vec creep. So then I get a list of all the creeps, that's fine. If we don't have a creep here, I need to spawn it. So in reality, I need 2 creeps, right? So like I need 2 creeps, and I also need these flags. So I might as well grab these out too. Okay, so I have the spawn, I have the creeps, I have my flags. That's all great. I then need to, if I don't have any creeps, I need to spawn them. So really I want 2 creeps. So if data.creeps.length, if that's less than 2, then I want to spawn the creep. So we're going to say spawn creep. Okay, so a body is going to be an array, and this is an actual real, this looks like it's actually going to be a real, like Rust array. So I want to do something like this. And then a part. So part. Right. What do you need? Move and attack. Does it matter? Spawn 2 creeps and move each creep onto a flag. So I wonder if I can just do a move. So just one. It's a super tiny. It has one body part. Just move. So it should be pretty fast. Okay, so this tick, if we don't have 2 creeps, spawn 1. And that's going to give us a creep, right? Well, it's going to give us a result because we're going to get the return code here in the case that we can't have a creep. So we can do this as an if let. Okay, so if let okay creep. Okay, so if the creep exists, it's fine for us. I can now use the reflect API to assign a little bit of data. Like for example, that first flag. So how do I want to deal with that? I want to be able to store whether or not I've assigned this flag because we're stateless. Every time we run this run method, we're resetting. We're having to grab all the data again. I could put like assigned flags. I can use reflect to like assign whether or not the flag's been assigned. Okay, so if creeps.length is less than 2, the other thing is I could find out how long this is and like use the index of that. It's like if our length is 0, then use the first one. If the length is 1, use the second one. I like that. We can use that as the index for which flag to assign it to. So then we should be able to do so we can use JSS reflect. We're going to set. Now this is going to be interesting. I wonder if this is going to work for it or if we're going to have to do a bunch of fun things to this. Okay, so our target is going to be what we're setting on. So this is going to be a reference to the creep. The property key. Okay, the key is going to be this JS value. JS value. Isn't it like a from string? Yeah, from stir. So this is going to be our target. And then our value, if I can, I want to set this to be the the flag that we're going for. So this is going to be our target. It's going to be equal to flags. So data dot flags of position, and then I want data.creeps.length. And I don't want to take ownership of you, so a reference is just fine. And then don't need a reference to target because that'll be a double reference. You return a result with a Boolean that tells me whether or not it was successful, right? I could just do an expect. So expect error setting target on created creep. Okay. So the first creep we create will get the first flag, and the second creep will get the second flag. Okay, so that's great there. Then I want to loop through all of our creeps. For each creep I want to get, we need to extract out the target. So we're going to use the reflect API to get the target. Okay, so this is going to be the creep. So this is the creep, and then the key. This gives us a result again. So let's do if let okay. If we have a target on here, I get that target. It's this JS value. I want to move towards it. So creep dot move to, and I don't need to take ownership of you. So a reference to the target and then a none on here. Does this, I mean, no errors, no warnings. Do you work? Okay. Yeah, that works. Okay, perfect. All right, so we can use that reflect API in the capture the flag for all of those things in the center, and that can make things a little bit nicer here. I hadn't really thought about doing something like that to store state on the creeps itself, but I think that might make things a little bit nicer. Especially since we already have to work with like things that have an internal state, the creeps. Might as well just continue to use that as opposed to store like another series of state for those creeps elsewhere. I completely failed to store this ahead of time, so let me go ahead and reset this manually. So in function run, we're going to keep the data in it, but we're going to remove all of the contents of it. So you just return self. And all of you go away, and we'll be using you later. Okay. Great. So let's rebuild you. Make sure it fails. All right, let's do this. Welcome. In this tutorial 7 for Screeps Arena in Rust, we're going to be working on the spawn Screeps tutorial. So what are we doing here? So the gist of this entire tutorial is we want to grab a spawn and think of like the spawn as like a barracks in like an RTS. And we're going to create 2 new creep entities from it and then have them do something. Now in this specific thing, what we need to do is spawn the 2 creeps and then have them each move to their own flag. And it doesn't really care how we get to it, but it does give us some interesting sort of information that might be helpful. First of all, we can assign arbitrary data to each of the creeps and then sort of get that data later for us, for later use. So in this case, they're suggesting, hey, we can take this creep, we can add a target dynamically to it because it's just JavaScript in this case. We can just add a new object to it, but that object persists across ticks. So we can use it to store state. Also, flag is the entire object that is the flag. We don't need to like every single tick do a get objects by prototype anymore. We can just say, hey, if you have a target, go ahead and move towards that target. Otherwise, maybe like assign a target. So that's what we're going to do here. Now, first step, we're going to need to get our spawn. We need to get a flag, and we're probably going to need to store off all of our creeps. Now, we do have something slightly different than what this tutorial is showing us. They're basically, JavaScript allows you to create variables just in the root of a file and just like run code there. We can't in Rust. We have to run our stuff inside of functions. So therefore, we can't quite hold state and just have that be available to us all the time. We're going to have to reinitialize our state every single tick. Not really that big of a problem. We're still going to work, be able to move forward with it. So let's go ahead and get ourselves set up. So in our data, we want to store the spawn, which is going to be a structure spawn. We're going to want our flags. And we're going to want our creeps. Now our flags, these are going to be a vector of flags. And the same thing with the creeps. Okay, so for init, to get the spawn out, well, there's only one spawn here, so we can just grab the first one that we find. Okay, let's also grab our flags and creeps. And okay, so first one here, so we'll do a spawn is going to be our spawns of 0. So the first one, we'll have our flags and we'll have our creeps. Those will be the entire vectors. Now it is yelling at us about taking ownership of this first one. We'll go ahead and clone this. That'll be fine because the idea is going to be the same. The sort of like data inside of it, we don't actually need like the true original thing in memory. We just need something that has the same shape and the same data as it, and that's going to be fine. All right, so that gives us our data here. First things first, we need to spawn 2 creeps. If we don't have 2 creeps, spawn 1. Okay, that should be simple enough. We can check to see how many creeps we have. If there's less than 2, we'll spawn 1. Let's see, spawning a creep is fairly simple. We're going to do data.spawn.spawn creep, and it wants a body here, which, as we can see, is an actual real Rust array. So we're going to take a reference to an array literal, and it wants this part, which we're going to use the Screeps Arena part, and all we need for this exercise is move, but I can put as many things in here as I want. So it can have move, it can have like attack parts, heal parts. We can make this as big as we want to. Note that that will make things more expensive too. So I'm not checking to see how much energy the spawn has. I'm just sort of attempting to spawn it if it can. Okay, so data spawn creep. We do that. Now you are going to return a result with the creep inside. So I want to get access to that creep because I want to do what they're doing in the tutorial here. And I want to assign the flag that it should be going to as a target to it. So we need to get access to this. This is a result. So if let okay creep equals you. Okay, so we have successfully spawned a creep. How do we know which creep this is, the first one or the second one? Well, that can be based upon the length of data creeps here. So I actually want to extract this out first so I don't just grab the length twice. I'll just reuse this number over and over again. So we'll do maybe like Screeps count equals, well, that will be this data creeps length. Data creeps length. So now I can reuse you here. So Screeps count. If that's less than 2, let's create this. If we create it, I want to get the flag corresponding with this one. So if it's the first creep we're creating, the count was 0. If it's the second one, the count was 1. So I can just directly use that as an index into the flags. Now, how do I assign something? Because I can't just do something like creep.target. That's not going to work because we're in Rust land here. We have strong typing systems, and there is no such thing as a target on the type creep. What we need to do is basically do the JavaScript style, where I'm adding it in JavaScript land, and we're just sort of like in that types kind of solid for us. The way this is going to work is back to Reflect again. Reflect has Reflect is pretty interesting. It's not something I ever actually looked at until I started working with Rust and WebAssembly. So Reflect allows us to do things to objects as sort of like an external API. So if we go down, we want reflect.set here. It works like setting a property in an object, but it's an external thing. So, and this is an actual like in MDN, it works in JavaScript. This is not something for just Rust. This is an actual like JavaScript thing. So we do reflect.set, pass it in the object we want to set it on, pass it in the key that we want to set, and then the value. And then it's on the object. So we're going to do that with our target. So let's start with let our target key. This is going to, I wish it could just be as simple as a string literal where I can just say target, but unfortunately we're going to have to create this as a JS value. So JS value from string, or from stir in this case, and we're just going to say target. Okay, so instead of creep.target, we're going to say give me, I want this to be the reflect set. Target is going to be a reference to the creep. Okay, property key is going to be this target key. It does take a reference to that because it doesn't want ownership of it. And then the value, we want this to be a flag. So let's grab this out here too. So our flag is going to be a reference to, because I don't want to take ownership of it here, our data.flags. And then for indexing, I want to use the Screeps count. And that's what we're going to use here for this value is the flag. Now, this returns a result. I can do an if let okay on that to sort of like check to see if it worked. Or we can just maybe let's expect it so we get an error message out of this just in case it doesn't work. So error setting target on creep. And there we go. Okay, so we've spawned a creep and it has a target now. And we've done that 2 times. So we should have two creeps, both with targets. Next, I want to loop through all of our creeps and then have them move to their targets. We know that they have to have targets because we've set them here or we've just crashed. So this should work. That being said, like we can still do an if let when we do our reflect gets, just in case. But let's start with our for each. So do our data dot creeps. We'll get an iter. We'll for each. We'll get a creep. We need to get the target out. So if let okay, because it's a result. The target equals, it's going to be creep dot, oh, it's going to be the reflect. So we want reflect get. Now the target here isn't this target. The target's like what the object is that we're getting stuff off of, which is going to be this creep. And then the key is, so this is going to be let target key equals this JS value from stir target our target key. Okay, so at this point, I now have this this target here. We should be able to move towards it. So creep dot move to, and let's give it a reference to the target. I actually can just do a reference here, and then I don't need to do one here. And then options, none. I don't need to override the default move to. Let's see how this works. I don't have any errors. I don't have any warnings. Let's see if everything works as expected. I'm gonna go ahead and deploy this. There we go, that's working. We come here and hit play. Passed. All right, let's watch it. Notice that because I didn't tell it like move directly to or just like move towards it direct, it actually chose for this one because there's this swamp here. It moved around the swamp because that ended up being a lot faster. Where the other one just took a beeline over and it just moved directly to it. But that's how we were able to use reflect to set and get targets onto creeps, which I think is kind of like the bigger part of this tutorial. I know that spawning the creeps is like the main part of it, but in Rust, that reflect API I think is pretty nice. I think we're going to use it in the future. I have a feeling that it's pretty important. Anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. All right, so we did spawn creeps now. Let's go ahead and save this way before I forget. Is that tutorial 7? Yeah. Okay, what's next? Harvest energy. Energy resources can be available in different forms. It can be stored in containers. Okay, well let's get this all going here. That way I don't have a warning. So that's nice. Okay, so this one's called Harvest Energy. Okay, so Arena Tutorial Harvest Energy. We'll grab that out here. We need the feature for this one. Okay, so you should be happy in here now. All right, so let's see what we need to do to get our harvest energy working. Let's also save this away. So let's see, what do I need? Let's see, preparing for harvest energy tutorial. There we go. So now I can reset that fairly easy. Okay, so energy resources can be available in different forms. Okay, so I think what happens here, we have a spawn, we have a creep, and we have an energy source. So it wants us to harvest and transfer 1,000 energy to the spawn. With our empty everything here, let's go ahead and build an empty one so it won't do anything, which is gonna be fine. I just want to see what are we starting with? Are we starting with a creep and a spawn? We are. Okay, so we start with a spawn. Our spawn has our spawn has like 500 energy. Notice this. We get 1 energy every tick. So that's like we could just sit here and wait for long enough. But I think they actually take that into account. And they don't actually wait for I guess like what, 9,500 9,900 ticks or something like that. They're going to time out for them. So we want to grab our creep, grab our spawn. So we need creep, spawn, and then we need an energy source. Is there more than one? There's only a single energy source on this map. So we want our creep. We need a spawn. We need the energy source. Now they come from these sources. So source. Okay, so I guess that's it. That's what an energy source is. So now, is there prototypes for this? Oh, source, right there. That's what I want. Okay, so I get all those. Okay, so we only want the first one of all these. So that should be fairly simple. Oh, but we need to take ownership of all these too. That's fine. We'll clone them. Now you're just yelling at that you're not being read. That's fine. Now, I want to tell my creep to go to the closest energy source. Well, go to the energy source and harvest it until it's full, until its internal storage is full. Once that's full, then go back to the spawn and deliver it. So we're kind of in like different roles, right? Like in one role we're harvesting, we're mining, and in the other role we're delivering. So to choose the role, I guess like that's the first thing, right? We want to assign role. We want to assign a role to the creep. We can do reflect for this. We can use the reflect API to sort of set this up. That might be good. So let's see what we would need for that. So inside of here, to assign the role. So let for our creep. So we have the creep. We want to check to see if the creep. I kind of want to do this inside of here as another function, just to give it a name. So pub function assign role. I don't think that I need to return an error, because I think I want it to sort of crash if it fails here. So that'll be fine. Okay, so we're gonna assign the role. That means we're gonna take our creep. We only have one, so I don't need to loop through it. I don't care what role it has right now. Is that correct? I only care about its status. So if it has, well, okay, there's two roles, right? There's two different roles that it can be, harvesting and delivering. Harvesting means that I switch away from harvesting when I'm full on energy. So that I might actually have to have different roles that we assign here. Okay, so let's try creating like an enum for roles. So we have the harvest role, and then we have the deliver role. So I guess like let's first get the role from a creep. This might be a utility function to do. I'll do that down here. So we'll do a function get role. So we'll take in a creep, which is a reference to a creep. And we're going to return a role. Now, I suppose there's also a none role, right? So like maybe there isn't a role yet. So I need to be able to handle that. Otherwise, I have to do an option, which I don't want to have to do. I want to handle them all right there. So we're going to return a role. Okay, so I want to grab this out. So this is going to be let role key. It's going to be equal to, I want a JS value. We're going to use reflect to get that, and it's going to give us a result back. So we're going to do an if let okay. I want the now this is a role, but it's like a role as a string. So this is like creep role. Okay, so our target is going to be the creep, and the key is going to be the role key. That gives us this JS value, so the creep role. So I need to then turn this into a string and extract that out. Can I actually do that? That's going to be interesting. What can I do with this? I want this to be like stringified, or I want to somehow convert this into like the specific role. So creep role, what are my options here? Is string. Okay, so I can check to see if this is a string. I can do as string. I mean, I'm fairly certain that it's going to be a string because I'm going to set it as a string in there. Let's try this as string. If this JS value is a string value, the function copies this JS string value into WASM linear memory and coded as UTF-8 and returns it as a Rust string. To avoid the copying and re-encoding, consider the try from function from JS instead. If this JS value is not an instance of a string or not a valid UTF-8, then this returns none. So I know it's a string because we're going to put it in there as a string. So this should be fine. So let's do, okay, so we'll do if let okay, we get the creep roll out of here. Then, and I guess like here, we can start right away with this. So if there's no creep roll at all, then it's a roll none. So roll none. That's simple enough, right? Now here, I want to let, let's shadow this. So creep roll equals as string, and I could unwrap this. I could do another if let. I think I can expect you and just say creep roll not saved as string. Okay, so I now have this as a string. I would then want to turn this into the specific role. I'm thinking I do an impl here. I want to essentially convert this from like from string. Ooh, I can do like a from too. Like impl from. See if I can do that. Let's try impl from, and then I think I have to give it a type. So this would be a string or roll. Okay, so from, this is going to be our string. So this is going to be the roll string. Return for self. Okay, so then I want to match on a reference to roll string. All right, so if you are, I wonder if I have to do that or if I have to do like an as slice or something like that. But okay, so if this is harvest, I want you to become self harvest. Deliver. And then if it's literally anything else, I want, it's going to be none. All right. You're upset. Mismatch type expected. Oh yeah, look at this. So it thinks it's a reference to a string when I really want this to be a string slice, a stir. So a as stir works there for me. All right, let's see. Well, key needs to be a reference here. If let okay. Oh, you're upset because we're not returning the correct thing yet. So we get this creep roll, and now I want to return roll from, and then this creep roll. And that'll be, yeah, that works. So then we get the roll out of here. So in assign role, I want to, okay, I'm taking self, so we're going to iterate through all of our creeps. Oh, we only have one creep, so this is going to be fine. So I want to get the role for this creep. Okay, that's going to give me some kind of role. I then want to match on this, and then we're going to do different logic based upon what we have. So if the role, well, let's do the none one first, right? The none one should be easy. If we have no role whatsoever, let's go ahead and just set us, we're now a harvester. Let's just go ahead and do that. So assign role. I almost want to do this as like the new role, but new role equals, so you're going to be role harvest. Okay, so if you're a harvester, then how do I know what if you should continue to be a harvest or if you should change? And should this be like a sum or like a none? Because if I do an option here, then I can use that as like, should we even change roles? I kind of like that. So let's make this a sum. If we don't have a role, we are definitely changing, and you're going to become a go become a harvester. If our current role is harvest, the business logic to sort of like stop becoming a harvester and become a delivery is if we are full on energy. So let's see, if self dot creep dot let's look at our documentation. Store a store object that contains cargo of this creep. So if we go into there, we can get free capacity, returns free capacity for the store. For a limited store, it returns the capacity available for the specified resource if resource is defined and valid for the store. So resource is optional. So get free capacity, resource energy. Okay, so we can find out if the free capacity is 0 because it is all used up. We can't take any more in. Then it's time for us to go do delivery. So get free capacity. So this is going to store get free capacity. Oh, this is an option. So we can just do none. Okay, if that is 0, I want to return the new role is deliver. Otherwise, you're a none. Okay. Deliver. What is the business logic for this? If you're delivering and you have 0, if you have like a nothing inside whatsoever, so like you have 0 used, then time to go harvest more. So if self dot creep.store.getUsedCapacity. If you're nothing, then roll harvest. Otherwise, we're not changing. Oh yeah, and these need to be some. Okay, that gives us this option role here. So now if we have a new role that we're assigning it to, let's then put it inside of the creep. So if let some new role. Actually, this is gonna be this is gonna be a role. Equals new role. Okay, so if we have a new role to do, I want to reflect this in and add this into a creep. So that's going to be a I kind of like also want to like make an assign role down here. Function assign role. Take a creep. We're not going to return anything at all. Hold on, I'll do this later so you're not set with me. Now I'm doing this twice, like this role key. So I kind of want to do this as a const here. So you're going to be a JS value. Just so that we can make sure we're absolutely consistent from this, which means I don't need you in here anymore. This role key is now going to be role key like that. And I don't need you. Okay, great. Next up, if I can probably expect you. So we can just say reflect set. Our target is going to be the creep. The property key is going to be this reference to role key, and then the value is going to be a role. Now, this needs to be a JS value role. So I want to implement something that allows me to like do an into for a JS value. So impl into this value or role. Okay, so into self, it takes ownership of this, that's fine. Turns into a JS value. I'm thinking about turning this into a string or a stir, which should be fine. Do I want to do something else first with this? Probably not. So I can do let the like sort of like the string value of this. Let's see, do I want to do that there, or I can just do it all in one go? So we can just do JS value from stir. And so then inside of here, we're gonna match on self. So you're gonna be harvest. You'll be deliver. And you'll be none, which means I want to handle this up here as like a none. just in case that happens. Okay, so now I can do an into on this, which means down here, I will take this role and we'll do a reference to a role.into. So error setting role on. You're upset. Cannot call non-cast value JS value from a str in constants. Oh, that's too bad. That would have been nice. Okay, so fine. Both of you are going to be upset again. I could do this as just a single function that we can call. So something down here. We'll do a function. Role p. It's gonna be a JS value. So we'll just do a return a JS value from not a Boolean, from stir. Role, and then in both of these we'll have role key, and we'll just call that as a function, and that'll be fine. Okay, so where were we with this entire thing? We were assigning a role. So if let some role equals this, so we get the role out of okay, we have a new role to assign. So then we're going to do a assign role. It's not a self-assign role. Yeah, assign role, put a reference to self.creep, and then the role is this role, and that's gonna be fine. Otherwise, we don't do anything, we don't touch it whatsoever. So back down here to assign role. Okay, so that's the first thing we do. We assign the roles. Okay, so assign role to the creep. After this, the creep should have either a new role or the same role that it did before. Then we want to now run the creep based upon the role. So if it's a harvest, we harvest. Otherwise, we deliver. That's pretty much it. So we want to run based upon the role. So how is that going to work? Bam, we get the role out. Which we have this function here that helps us do that. And then we make a decision and then run it based upon that role. I think so. So so that role is going to be equal to, okay, get role. It's going to be a reference to data.creep that gets us the role that this has. We're going to match on that. We might as well just match here. Okay, so if we are a none, we're not going to do anything. We're done. We're just a no operation. If we're harvesting, I want to tell the creep to harvest. So what does that mean? I want to, okay, we have access to the creep. I have it attempt to harvest from the source or the energy source. If it can't, it moves towards it. So if data.creep. So harvest, our target is a reference to a source. Data.energy source. If that equals return code not in range, creep dot move to a reference to data dot energy source, none. Okay. Attempt to harvest it. If you can't because you're not close enough, move away from it. Delivery. Okay, so if we're in deliver mode, I want to do the same thing, but instead of harvest, we want to transfer. So if data.creep.transfer, our target is going to be the spawn. The type. Okay, so the resource type, energy, and the amount is an option. I want all of it. So just that. If that equals return code not in range, then move towards that. I think this should do it. So this is like significantly more complicated than our previous ones, but I think should work. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Oh, it failed. What happened? We have an error, unreachable. Unreachable. Do we still have like a to-do in here somewhere? Don't see any to-dos. Okay. Can I find any exclamation points? No. Okay, so there's no to-dos and there's nothing else. So unreachable, I'm guessing that some of my expects are, these are triggering, but we're getting really bad error messages here. And it's not telling me exactly what happened where. So I need to, the expect is probably not what I want to do. So anywhere where I have an expect, let's, I'm gonna have to handle this. Okay, so hold on. Let creep roll equals, and then if let okay, creep roll okay, so if it exists, I want to just return that. Otherwise, I want to warn. So error getting the creep roll. Why are you nothing? Seems wrong. You should be an option with a string, right? Creep roll a string. Then we get that out. Okay. Do you still work, or is that a real error? No, you're a real error. Okay. Expected option found in result. Oh, it's an option. Option. Okay, it's not. It's a sum. Not an okay. There we go. Warn this. If and else. Oh, and then here I want to panic. That'll be fine. So if we run you again. Okay, that works. Let's go ahead and handle. Let's handle this error here too. So reflect.set. This will be a if let. Now you are an actual result. So if let okay. I don't think I care about this. Actually, I want this to be an if let an error. So if let error. I don't know if I care about what that error is. Right now, at least. I just want to now, at this point, just do a warn. Error. Setting roll on creep. Panic, and then we'll remove this expect here. Okay, I think you should be happier. Let's try this again. Okay. Now I expect this should still fail, but hopefully we should find out where the problem is happening. Error getting the Screep roll. Okay, so it's happening. Okay, error getting the Screep roll. That's what's happening. It's up here. Because the first time through, it doesn't exist. This is interesting. Okay, so it gets here, which means, okay, so it successfully got the roll. Okay, it got the roll from the key. It must not be an as string. That must be what it. That must not be what it is. Can I warn? Creep. Roll is string. So I want the creep roll is string. My guess is you're going to be false then. That must be false. But I want to verify and make sure so I don't go out like assuming things. This is the worst part about Screeps Arena. Wait, now you passed? What? Okay. Did I like not rebuild it for some reason? Wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's why. I'm on harvest energy. You're getting a creep roll. Am I building this correctly? I'm building for tutorial 8. Yeah, this is 8 harvest energy. Okay. I did not see the I did not see that log there. Hold on, let's go back here. Okay, let's go back to 1 tick. Okay, so after the first tick, air getting a creep roll, warn, Screeps Arena, air getting a creep roll. So does it happen twice, or is it just that's how the message works? Air getting a creep roll, I kind of want to like do that just to make sure it's like really this thing and not like something else. I can't imagine it would be something else though. So it got into here and then we panicked, which means this is a none. Oh wait, what happened to my warn? I thought I wrote a warn that tells me, oh, I removed it. Okay, never mind. Let's put that back now. So before this if, we'll do an warn. Creep roll is string. Creep roll is string. I wonder if I can also do like a type of. Okay. Creep roll is string false. Okay, that makes sense then, right? And then we have the bang, 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 bang. So the roll exists, it can see it, but it can't like actually get it. So can I get JS type of, hold on. So creep roll dot, what are my options here? I can just do like an is on all of them. I can do this JS type of, that gives me a JS value, which then should be a string, right? Dot. Let's do is string. So creep roll type is string, just to make sure. I think type of always gives back a string. In Rust Wasm, I'm a little bit less sure. I've never used this before, so we'll find out. Okay, that is a string, so perfect. So we're gonna come back to here. Type of as string. So tell me what you are. an option string, right? Which I can unwrap you because we verified you already. You should work. Excuse me. Got the microphone just in time. Okay, so we get okay, so we do that. Undefined. Woo, okay. Oh, perfect. Okay, so the first time through. Oh, why would you? Okay. Gotta love JavaScript. So, I was working under the impression. This is the problem. I had made an assumption. I thought I was successfully not making any assumptions, but I still was. In this get roll here, we get the roll off of the creep. So we just say like, hey, do you have this roll with reflect? And I was under the impression that if it didn't find it, we would get back down here to this else. And we would get, oh no, it's undefined, so it's none. But no, that's not how it works. Unfortunately, if the roll is not that, then we get this fun thing here. So let's see. It's undefined because it's not on the creep yet, which is why it's happening on the first tick. That should have been like a sign to me saying like, hey, you don't have it. Deal with that. So I try to get, okay, give me the creep roll as a string. That's going to be an if let sum. I then want to return this creep roll out of that. If you're a none because we couldn't get you, I shouldn't panic or exit out. I should just say, this is a roll none. And then that becomes a roll from like whatever this is. Creep roll. Oh, this becomes this JS value of the none. Oh, great. So I want you to be string. So this is just a none to owned. That's the only thing I can think of that might make this work. Let's try it again. Hey, and that works. Okay, so we should be on the correct one this time. Yeah, here we go. So now we harvest from the energy. That's going to wait until it gets full, and then it's going to go transfer that over to the whatever it's called, the spawn. Well, we know it works. We saw that work earlier. So there we go. Now it goes back and does it again. Perfect. So let's reset really quickly. What are all the things we had to do? This one is a doozy. And is there anything we want to do differently here? Not necessarily. I like having like the roll key, the assign roll, the get roll. I kind of know that we're gonna have to do those separately, so I'll just sort of break them out as I go with it. So, all right, I think we're good. So let's reset you. Let's rebuild you also. So you should now fail. You fail. Okay, great. So harvest energy. Here we go. Welcome back to our going through the tutorial with Screeps and Screeps Arena specifically, and we're on to tutorial number 8, which is this harvest energy. Now this one is supposed to be relatively simple when you're working with JavaScript, but this is where things you start to become a little bit more complicated or complex, I suppose, and a little bit more work from us to get things done. But it's fine. We'll go ahead and do it, and it'll be great. So, what do we have here? Well, there's not much to go with instructions here. It's really just we have a creep, we have a spawn, and we have an energy source. And what we want to do is we want to tell the creep to harvest from the energy source until it's full of energy, then take all that energy to the spawn and deliver it, and just do that over and over and over again until we win the mission. That's it. That's all we need to do. So let's sort of like set things up. So in our data, we know we have like 3 elements here. We have our creep. Let's make that public. This is going to be a creep. We have our spawn. It's going to be a structure spawn, and then we have that energy source. Now this is interesting. I like to actually call this energy source when storing myself, but it's not actually known as an energy source, but rather just a source. So spawn energy source is a source like that. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and in our init, set things up. Okay, and for our energy source, this is a source here, like that. And then we'll just grab the first of each of these because we only have one of each in this scenario. And do you remember we have to clone these? It's creeps. We have to clone them to take ownership of it. Let's make this energy sources to be a little bit more consistent. Okay. All right, so I now have our data. Let's see. The first thing that we want to do is we want to take our creep, and we need to like know exactly what state we're in, because every time we run through the loops, it's resetting all of our data. We can store a little bit of data in the creep itself, which is probably what we're going to do. But we need to know what to do to like, well, each tick. My thought is we're going to have a role and then assign that to the creep, get it, and then have it do the thing. So let's figure out what the roles are. So we have this struct data. Let's implement a enum role. Okay, so we can be in 3 different states. We could be in the sorry, not states. We could have 3 different roles. We can be a harvest role. We could be a deliver role, or then we could just have a none role. Like we don't know what we're doing, and that's fine. But it is good for us to know that. So step 1, we want to assign a role to the creep if necessary. So first of all, we need to get the role that the creep currently has. Let's go ahead and create a helper function for ourselves first to do that. So we're going to have a function get role from creep. We're going to take in a reference to a creep and return a brand new role. All right, so we're going to use reflect to grab the role out, and then probably some fun stuff from that. So this will be interesting. All right, so we're going to use reflect to grab this. Let's do the key. Well, you know what? We need to get the key too. There's like several different things that need to happen here. So we need to grab the JS key. So let's actually create a function to create that. So this will be the JS role key. And this is going to return a JS value. This will be pretty simple here. So JS value from stir role. So that's just what we're returning. That should be easy enough to share between different functions and make sure we're consistent with grabbing like what this role is. Okay, that's great. Now, next up, I want to, when I grab the role from this, we're going to get it as just a string, which means that I'm going to want in this role to convert a role when we're setting it from, into a string, or rather into a JS value, and then also from a stir. So let's implement that here. So impl from, and then our type here is going to be, I think it's going to be a string that we're going to get. So from a string, so impl from string for role. So this is going to be our, this is going to be a role string. So I want to probably match on this to return what the self is going to be. So we're going to match on the role string. Now it is an actual, capital S string here, but we can do an as stir to make things a little bit nicer for ourselves. So now we can match just using quotes like this. I don't have to like create a weird string and match that way. Okay, so if this is harvest, we're going to return a self harvest. If it's a deliver, we're going to turn a self deliver. And if it is a none, then we want to do a self none. Okay, excellent. And then that should be good. Oh, you know what? If it's anything else, it should be a none. So let's just say if you're literally anything that's not harvest or deliver, you're a none. Okay, great. I think we're about ready to move forward with this. There's some fun things we're gonna have to deal with inside of here. So get the role from the creep. So that's the first things here. So we're going to use the reflect API. So reflect, we're going to get, our target is going to be that creep, and the key is going to be a reference to this JS role key. Okay, that's great. Now get returns a result with the JS value. which is both like an error and the actual value we want to get. So we're going to do an if let if it's an okay. And we're going to get it's going to be like the JS role out of here. So role. I'm actually going to call this the creep role. Now, if you don't work, like if this is a none, I want to return a role none. So I want it to actually work and like the code to continue working, and then we'll just sort of try to reassign it to have an actual role. Okay, we successfully got the creep role out of it. We need to see what it is. So we need to convert that into a string, and then do that into on it. So we should do another if let off of here. So if let, now this is going to be a sum, and I'll sort of like explain why here, which is going to be this is going to be the role string equals, and we're going to do a creep role dot as string. Now we're going to set this as a string, so therefore it should come back as a string too for us. Now there's a reason why I'm not doing like an expect or an unwrap here and actually handling this, because we're working with JavaScript. And on JavaScript, if we have an object and I try to access a value off of that object, but that value doesn't exist, there's no error. It's perfectly happy to just return undefined. And that's exactly what would happen here. The error doesn't happen down here, but inside of here. So if we have an else here, it's because it doesn't yet have a role and we got undefined. And so in that case, I want to return a new role out of here. So that will be a role none. Now, I finally have a string in here. Let's go ahead and convert. We're going to get our role off of this. So I want a role from, and then this is going to be a string for this one. This is going to be the role string. And that should return the role from this. So, okay, we're happy now. So we can get the role from the creep. Okay. Next up, we want to assign roles, right? It's like that's the entire point. To assign what the role to the creep is going to be, we have to get the current role and then make a decision on that. My computer's about to go to sleep. So hold on, I need to fix this really quickly. Okay. Power plugged in. We're good to go again. All right. So, where were we? Get the role from the creep. Okay, so if we get the role from the creep, we have to do some business logic to like determine what we want to do based upon like its current state and maybe some other things, but basically mostly on the role. And then we want to assign a new role, which means we need another helper function here. So assign a role. So we do a function assign role to a creep. So taking creep, a reference to the creep, and then the new role. So a role is going to be the role. And okay, this is going to be a reflect set on it. And this should always work. So I should be able to just expect this one or just unwrap it really. That being said, error messages do not work very well. So handling the errors can actually be really helpful to let you know if something happens. Let's go ahead and handle it properly here. So we're going to do an if let, I believe it's an okay, actually if let error. And I don't really care what that error is necessarily. Equals. And now we're going to do our reflect. We're going to set. Our target is going to be the creep. The property key is going to be a reference to the JS role key. And then the value is going to be this role. But I want to be able to turn this into a JS value. So I'm going to add another impl onto this enum here. So impl into, I want this for a JS value for role, which really is just going to be a string, right? So we're going to do a JS value. Oh, inside of the into function, return a JS value from stir. Inside of the stir, I'm going to match on self. And okay, so if it's a harvest, just harvest. If it's a deliver, then deliver. And if it's a none, be none. Okay. So that should be happy here. That comes down. And so then here, we can take our role and just do an into. And we're happy here. Okay, so if this error happens, I don't know why you're upset. Try saving again. Oh, you need to be a reference. Okay, now we're happy again. If this happens, I want to warn, just to let us know error assigning role to creep. And then we're going to panic because I don't want the code continuing onwards in an unknown state. Crashing would be better. Okay, so there's that helper. So, okay, first up, we want to assign a role to our creep. So I'm going to do this inside of our data function here. Have a pub function assign role. We're going to take in a reference to self, and that's it. And I don't need to return anything either. So what's the first thing that we need to do? Well, we need to get the current role that the creep has. So let our current role is going to be equal to, let's get role from creep and pass in a reference to self.creep. Okay, so now I have a role. It's either going to be none, or it's going to be the harvest, or it's going to be deliver. So then we want to make a decision based upon that. Let's do, if we want to like assign role, I'm thinking another function to sort of like decide what to do based upon a role. So let's create that down here. So pub function, this is going to be, it's going to take in a role, and it's going to decide, it's going to take in a role. It's going to be part of self. This doesn't need to be public. This can actually be private. It's like a new, okay, so like generate, like, should there be a new role? So create new role, like decide new role, change role. We're going to take in a reference to self, and we're going to return an option with a role inside. Now, the reason I'm thinking about the option here is because if there's a none, then we don't have to do anything. We don't have to set a new role. I don't have to like constantly reset it every single tick to the exact same role. I only want to set it if there's a new role for it to go to. Okay, so in here, we get the current role, and then I want to match based upon this to turn a new role in. So we're going to, I can actually just match directly on this, can't I? match on get no roll from creep. Okay, so if it's let's do the easiest one first. If it's a none, so if the creep doesn't have a roll at all, I want to just go harvest, be a harvester. So return roll harvest. If you are a harvest, okay, what is the business rules to move away to stop being a harvester? Well, okay, so when you're harvesting, you're going up to the energy source, and you are attempting to grab energy from it. I want you to stop it when you're full of energy. So we want to check to see if our creep has storage in it. So if self.creep.store, so this gives access to the store struct inside of the creep. See, there is get. Okay, we have get free capacity and get used capacity. I'm thinking get free capacity here. I'll do an option, like a none for the option, because I don't care about a specific resource type. Okay, get free capacity. If you have no capacity whatsoever, so if this is a 0, then that means it's time for you to be, you're done. You can't collect anymore. You are now going to be a sum of a roll deliver. So you need to go deliver. Now, otherwise, we're going to return a none. Okay. Delivery time. In some ways, it's going to be the opposite. So if self creep.store, okay, so this time we're going to use used capacity. So if you have no used capacity, meaning that you've emptied out everything, you've transferred everything you have to that spawn, then now it's time for you to go harvest again. So sum roll harvest. Otherwise, it's a none. And then you need to be a sum too. Okay, so change role. So we want you in assign role. We only want to do this if there is a change role. So we'll do an if let sum new role equals self.change role. Okay, so if there is a new role for us to switch to, I want to now set this on the creep. So we'll do assign role. Now, this is kind of not great. Assign role here on data, assign role down here as like a helper function. So let's do assign role to creep, just to make things a little bit easier to see. This is gonna be assign role to creep. We pass in a reference to the creep, self.creep, and then the new role. And that has been assigned to this creep. So down here in our run code, we get our data, and then we assign the role. So data.assign role. Okay, so now at this point of time, if we have a creep, which we do, we start with a creep, it now has a role. Okay, great. So we now need to make it run based upon that role. So we need to get the role out. So let's do let role, and then I want to match on that and then have it do different stuff based upon that. So we're going to match on, we're going to do this get role from creep again. Pass in a reference to data.creep. Gonna fill these match arms. Okay, so if you're a none, I don't want you to do anything. I don't know what you're supposed to be doing. It's a no operation. Okay, fine. If you're a harvester, so how does a harvest work? Well, I want to take our creep, go to the harvest, go to the energy source and harvest it. So we'll do an if. We have to do the if because there we have to handle if it's not close enough to it to harvest. Then we want to move towards it. So if data.creep.harvest, a reference to data.energy source. So if that has a return code of not in range, then data.creep.move to, please. Move to the data.energy source. Okay, that should be good enough for harvest. I don't have to like worry about if we're full on this yet or not. We're just handling this down here. Okay, delivery. So same general idea here. I want to if data.creep. Now this is going to be a transfer. So I want to transfer to the target. That's going to be our data.spawn. Energy type, that's going to be our just energy. So we have a resource type, energy, and the amount. I'm going to put a none in here, and by default, it's going to transfer all of the energy that it possibly can. And if that returns return code not in range, then data.creep move to, and then our target is going to be the spawn. So data.spawn. Okay, that's everything from harvest and deliver, and then we just repeat this over and over and over again. Let's see if I missed anything. We're going to go ahead and rebuild this for tutorial 8. That ran. We'll come into here and let's see if we're harvesting energy now. Hey, we passed, so everything is working. Let's go ahead and watch it. So our creep immediately gets that roll. It then starts moving over to this energy source, harvesting from it. A big difference between Screeps Arena and Screeps is that these energy sources never lose energy. They never run out. So you could just have as many as you possibly can working on it. But I think that's also because the games are limited to like 2,000 ticks total. And then it moves over to our spawn and delivers a bunch of energy and then repeats. And then we're going until the store is totally filled. So that is our tutorial number 8, which is the harvesting. So you can see like things are getting a little bit more complicated because we're working with Rust, but it's not like overbearing. It's not impossible to deal with and work with. It just mostly requires a few more helper functions to help out with things. There we go. We've won this tutorial. So anyways, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye. All right, that was a lot. Also, I noticed that my words are starting to go bad. So I was thinking I'll be able to get to construction today, but I think I need to end it because I see like my brain starting to like all the words. And normally that's an indication that I've been doing too much, need to go and relax. And I wanted to sort of end around 10 o'clock anyways, so I can go do a bunch of chores and then actually have time to relax and have a little bit of fun this afternoon, not just doing work. So I think, let's see. I don't have anybody. Let me go ahead and I don't have anybody I want to raid that's doing this. Let's see if anybody's doing I doubt anybody's doing Screeps right now. But let's go and check it out. Yeah, 14 viewers, and there's 14 of you. So my guess is, oh yeah, stop. Wait, what are you doing? I clicked on the category, and it just took me straight to my stream. Well, I don't want to raid myself, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave it at this. So anyways, everybody, I hope they have a great rest of your Sunday. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today for this Screep stuff. For some of those times, I've been recording videos that are eventually going to be edited and put onto YouTube, and it's going to be a big experiment because I haven't done like editing on videos before. But I'm waiting until I have them all and sort of like edit them together. So we're gonna see about that. Anyways, I'll be back to do more Screeps next weekend on Sunday. Tomorrow and every weekday morning, I'm working on a Rust-based web application, sort of like a platform, more businessy, doing web stuff. So if you're interested in that, love to have you here. I start those at 7 a.m. Mountain Time. Otherwise, I might see you next week for more Screeps Arena. So with that, have a great rest of your Sunday, and I'll see you next time. Bye.